Let me call to order the Wednesday, December 15th special town council meeting. It is 6 p.m. We are where we said we would be. I appreciate everybody shifting one day for us, and that's important to us to make sure we comply to every letter of the law. I will ask just one question of our council. We are required to meet monthly, and although this is a special meeting, we are in compliance with our ordinance that council must meet every month.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure. Notice that the agenda is a little different. We don't have the prayer, the pledge, the recognitions. I believe all of those have been pushed to January. Am I correct on that? Okay, so all that will happen in January. So item number 2 is approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Item 3 is public hearings, awards, and presentations. This is a public hearing to receive input on the U.S. Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, Urban Entitlement Program for the program year of 2022, requests for applications for the HUD funding and community resources. And I think Dr. Anna Eskridge is here. Please come forward.
Hey, thank you for having me again this year. So I'm the director of the Community Development Department at Charleston County. We like to make sure that the towns that participate, like the town of Mount Pleasant in our jurisdiction for our HUD funding, are aware of this request for applications that comes out each year. The funding is intended to help low to moderate income citizens in Charleston County. We get several different types of funding. That funding can go toward public services, homeless services, housing, infrastructure. So if you know of qualified nonprofits that might be interested in applying for this funding, or developers, please make sure that they're aware. If you go to charlestoncounty.org and look in the departments for community development, you'll see this on our front page. So again, that funding's for low to moderate income citizens, and the deadline for the application is January 6th at noon. Just a couple more things that I was going to make you all aware of. You may have seen in the news that Charleston County received $22 million in emergency rental assistance from the U.S. Treasury Department. There are lots of places across the country that have struggled to spend that funding, but not Charleston County. We are actually getting towards the end of utilizing that funding for rental and utility assistance for folks in Charleston County, and have been able to request additional funds, but we're waiting to see what happens with that request. But if it opens back up, I'm sure the county will have a press release, and that way folks in the town of Mount Pleasant will know that that funding is also available to apply for. For everyone, I have included a few attachments, and these are just different materials that I thought you might find helpful. We have a well and septic connection program for low to moderate income citizens that they can apply directly to us and get on our wait list to get mostly well and septic upgrades. That's generally what we do with that program. We also have a resource directory if you have citizens that need food assistance or emergency repairs on their houses. Lots of different things. You can point them to the organizations on this list. And lastly, we have a monthly grant alert. We have a staff member who gathers other funding opportunities that are out in the world, because we know that the HUD funding that the county receives doesn't meet all the needs that are out there in the community. So you can sign up to be a part of that monthly grant alert. There are 500 plus nonprofits and individuals on that list that get those funding opportunities. So thank you again for having me tonight.
Thank you very much. And is there anyone here to address this public hearing? Anyone that wanted to speak or ask the doctor a question? Nobody's here to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As required by procedure, I will have to gavel this public hearing closed. Everybody don't leave, the meeting's not over. All right, item number 4 is approval of the minutes from the November 5th, 2021 special town council meeting, the November 9th, 2021 town council meeting, and the October 2021 financial statement. Do we have a motion?
Move for approval of both sets of minutes and the financial statement.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Item 5 is public comment. If you would like to make a comment, please come forward to the lectern, give your name and address. We have a timer, and we will let you know when your 2 minutes are up. Do you have some sign?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one speaker signed up, and it is Mr. Howard Chapman.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm here to make a request for Santa Claus. That request is that we be treated equally with the rest of the state when it comes to gasoline prices. Our prices are some of the highest in the state. Until yesterday, gas down the street from where I live was $3.36 a gallon. Today, it's $3.29. That's still pretty high. That has been across the board at our gas stations in Mount Pleasant. All you have to do is go across the Cooper River on the Ravenel Bridge on East Bay Street, and you can find gas for $3.09 a gallon. At the corner of Hugh G. and King in downtown Charleston, you can buy gas for $3.10 a gallon. You can go up to Somerville on I-26, just north of Somerville, and buy gas for less than $3 a gallon. There is no reason for that. I would like to ask the mayor, and whoever you want to have with you, to invite those companies that sell petroleum in Mount Pleasant to sit down with us and find out why we're paying so much more than everybody else. There's no reason for that I can see. And if one of the reasons they give is difficulty in getting around, it can't be any more difficult than getting around the corner of Hugh G. and King Street in downtown Charleston, where they've got a major construction project going on to get better drainage there. So I'd like to make that request to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak before we close public comments? All right, no one else? All right. We will close public comment on that and move to item number 6, which is planning new business. There are no new planning business items, which sounds weird to my ears to say that, but that's what's written here. I'm assuming that's correct. So we will move to section B, which is old business. Ms. Reed.
Yes, sir. As you said, there is no new business. We have one item on old business, and that is related to the ordinance amendment pertaining to definitions. So we added definitions for bedroom. We clarified definitions for a guest room versus a guest suite, and then changed the definitions for hotel and boutique hotel. Along with that, we amended our off-street parking requirements for accommodations and lodging, clarified some things with the neighborhood commercial and the maximum building size, and then eliminated the boutique hotels as a permitted use in neighborhood commercial. And so that's what these definitions look like. As you'll recall, a guest room is differentiated here from a guest suite, so that if you have 2 or more guest rooms in your key fobbed room, then you fall under the suite. Also, a hotel is now 25 or more guest rooms, and a boutique hotel, which previously was 50, is now 25 or less. We have increased our parking standards based on whether you're a guest room or a guest suite, and added an employee parking requirement. This is just a clarification for our neighborhood commercial district. There is a maximum building size in all neighborhood commercial districts, whether you're underlying neighborhood, straight zoning, or in the overlay. And then this is an error. It has said minimum, and we always interpreted that as maximum, so we wanted to fix that. This is specific to Boulevard Overlay District, which is actually being heard next door tonight to eliminate this section. But for now, what this would do is say if you are underlying neighborhood commercial and you're still in the Boulevard Overlay District as it exists, you would not be able to do those expanded uses. So if you're NC, you can't do AB uses, nor can you exceed that 6,000 square feet. And then last is to eliminate completely boutique hotels from the neighborhood commercial district. And that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I do have a question.
Yep.
Do we need a motion before I have a question?
Yeah.
That's up to the
I'll wait.
I would prefer a motion so we don't just have a forum, yes.
I kind of had a question. I had a question that had to do with my motion
Sure.
before I make a motion. The last line on the boutique hotel definition, I know when it came out of Planning Commission and in our discussion, I just want to make sure before I move to approve this. The last line says, "A boutique hotel also shall provide services and amenities such as daily maid service and/or recreation facilities." Coming out of commission and our discussion at committee was that a boutique hotel shall provide daily maid service and may provide other amenities. So I just want to clarify, with this language, would they be required to provide daily maid service? Because this says such as.
I can answer that.
Yeah, please.
Because I don't, I want to make sure that the point was clear, we want a daily maid service, because that would distinguish a hotel from like a short-term rental that doesn't provide that.
Right, ma'am, and I think we understood that coming out of the committee and planning commission, that that was to be a requirement. And I believe this is clear in that that service is required. Essentially, staff's going to, not only the maid service, which is specifically mentioned, but other amenities that hotels would provide that are generally required and will be required. So I think it meets that purpose.
Okay, because I could move to say shall provide daily maid service if we need to do that. Just,
We would need an amendment to approve, and then that could be an amendment to.
Yes, sir, there would be a
But
motion
I'm-
to
A motion to
approve.
amend.
And then an amendment, if you feel comfortable with different language, it would.
but I mean,
would
if
just be an
this, if
amendment.
we're certain this language is going to require daily maid service every day, then we can just go with it like this.
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Well, I'd like to move to approve then.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. We are in discussion. Yes, sir, Mr. Rambo.
Can you please go back to the slide about the parking requirements?
Yes, sir.
So I understand we are adding in, for every guest room, so that way somebody can't have a 8-bedroom hotel room and say they only need one car. I wasn't aware, I guess I didn't realize that we were also adding a parking requirement for staff as well, which
Yeah,
is, what, I'm having trouble with that. How much would that be?
So it's that second sentence. It says employee parking shall be required at 2 spaces for boutique hotels and 3 spaces for hotels and extended stay hotels.
Okay, so if you think about your standard 115-room suburban hotel, if they're required to have 115 spaces, I don't see the need for the extra 3 spaces. I mean, when we talk about flooding and things like that, I don't think we should be requiring too much impervious surfaces. So if you have a 115-room hotel, even on a night where they're 100% booked, there's very little chance that every single hotel room has a car, with Uber and all of that other stuff. So I don't know, I didn't realize that part. So I don't know if anybody else has thoughts on that. I don't want to just make people create these enormous parking lots that then just sit there.
Do I just talk whenever?
What's that?
Can I talk?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
You have the floor.
It's number 2. It's my second one. So, first of all, I think there's a lot of questions with this, and I know that there's a whole nother rezoning going on right now with hotels as well. And is that correct?
Yeah, there is a proposal to Planning Commission right now, a public hearing to, there's two separate things. There's one to repeal the boulevard overlay, and then there's another one to make hotels and boutique hotels a conditional use.
Right, so there's all kinds of discussion happening here, and then we have a whole bunch of discussion that needs, a larger discussion that has to happen. I still don't understand why this isn't just one part. I still don't understand why this isn't with the larger discussion and why we're trying to move this through and not part of the larger discussion, in my opinion. And do we still have bed and breakfasts? Is there still or I don't know what it would be called, to obtain a license for a bed and breakfast or anything like that?
Yeah, so we used to have a definition and a use called a bed and breakfast. It required a special exception through the Board of Zoning Appeals. That went away when we adopted our short-term rental program, and it was basically, that captured the bed and breakfast. So when we created the short-term rental program, that included whole house rentals or traditional bed and breakfasts.
Okay, so, and this ordinance is taking boutique hotels out of NC, correct?
Yes,
This-
sir.
Okay, so,
Yes, sir.
so this is going to take character, uniqueness, and like, you're not gonna be able to get a boutique hotel allowed in, say, like an Ion, where there's a seven or 8 room hotel in there, correct? And
If it's neighborhood commercial, Ion's a planned development, and I'd have to look, but if it's straight neighborhood commercial, they would not be allowed to do a boutique hotel. Ion's got its own ordinance.
I guess what I thought we were looking for character and uniqueness in Mount Pleasant, and I think that boutique hotels, I'm okay with lowering it to 25 rooms and doing what we have to do to create that character of a boutique hotel. I just don't know that taking it out of NC is the correct way to do it. I thought that's, if you can't have short-term rental in a neighborhood and then they have NC at the front of the neighborhood, what better way than to have your family stay close to you at a boutique hotel? I think we can create the character we want to create for Mount Pleasant, for its residents, with this boutique hotel, but I don't know that I agree with taking it out of NC, is my opinion.
Okay. Was that a recognized?
No, sir, I'm just waiting to vote.
I was just looking for hands. We do have on here, I guess it would happen, since we are in discussion, we do have a motion to approve. We could go into executive session if needed, keeping in mind that that would only be for legal advice. We cannot debate the merits or lack thereof of an ordinance in executive session. We can only receive legal advice. I'm just putting that out there since it is on the agenda.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I think I hear what the concerns are, but just a reminder that we have been working on this for a long time. Planning Commission has looked at it twice, I believe. And this is the outcome of just a lot of work between Planning Committee and Commission. And we've had public comments about it, I mean, the whole gamut, but, so, yeah, I'm ready to vote.
Anyone else? All right, the motion is to approve. This is final reading. And keep in mind, we are 2 council members short. We do not have anybody, at least last time I was notified, we don't have anybody online, which is allowed. So 4 is a majority out of 7. Yep. So, yeah, that was not a math major. Just making sure. Yeah, what I was thinking about was if we had a motion that requires a 2/3 majority, that's a different number. So the motion is to approve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No? I said no?
Yes, okay. So we have 6-1, the motion passes.
That's final reading of ordinance number 21071.
This moves us to item 7, committee action items, Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee, ATAC. This will be handled by our, well, you're not new, but relatively new councilman, Mr. Icofano, who has a career in the hospitality industry, and you're a welcome addition to this. And Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor, for putting me on the ATAC committee. I appreciate it. So I believe I'm going to read here what's happening. So the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee met in October to review applications and make recommendations for council's consideration. The current balance is $124,000. Council has received a summary of the requests and the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee's recommendation for funding. 12 requests totaling $124,000. If council accepts the committee's recommendations, this will leave a zero balance. Since my election in November and appointment to represent council on this committee, I've reviewed the applications and recommendations. I have one change from the committee's recommendations, which I am including in the following motion. I'd also like to take this time to recognize and thank the committee members for their volunteer service. The members are Lisa Crowley, who's the chair, Brumby McLeod, Jennifer Maxwell, Vishal Patel, Mary Riccozzi, and Terry Ansley. I now move that council approves the funding recommendations totaling $120,703 for the Southeastern Wildlife Expo at $25,000, Low Country Oyster Festival at $7,250, the Mount Pleasant Cultural Arts Center Coffee House Variety Show for $2,000, Mount Pleasant Magazine Circulation Booster at $5,703, Charleston Race Week at $25,000, Rice Planters 50th Golf Tournament, $2,500, Charleston College Challenge Cup, $1,500, Charleston Spring Shootout, $1,500, Halsey Institute Exhibitions Advertising for $1,500, Cooper River Bridge Run for $25,000, Charleston Wine and Food Festival for $20,000, and the Mount Pleasant Symphony Concert at $3,750.
All right, that is a motion. I guess we do need a second.
I'll second it.
And we have a second. We're in discussion. I have one question. Go ahead. Nope, Chair defers to you. You go ahead.
I was a little bit confused when I reviewed this, why there's one event that we're giving more money to than they requested. Is that even a thing? I mean, if they requested $1,675, why are they getting $2,000? And where does that, if they only need $1,675, who gets the extra money?
Good evening, Council. So this was an item that the committee did discuss. The applicant, when they came before the board, put a modest amount. And after discussions and during the applicant presentation, the committee felt that the requested amount was too low to actually accomplish the applicant's intended goal, which is to host a coffee house variety show for the Mount Pleasant Cultural Arts Community Foundation. And so after discussions back and forth during the presentation, they came to the agreement that perhaps that amount, that $1,675, was too low. And so they recommended bumping it up to $2,000. So that's where that additional funding came from.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
answers
Ms.
my
Whitley.
question.
And then I think there was a discrepancy too between what Councilman Acafano said with the Mount Pleasant Magazine boosting circulation. It says 9,000 on the screen, but it's actually lower than that?
Yeah, I had a discussion with Mr. Macchio, and we felt pretty comfortable at being able to reserve some of that money for the next go-round, because that will carry over.
Okay, so what is it actually? So it's not 9,000?
No, $5,703.
Perfect, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we are correct going with the motion as was stated verbally, because it did not refer to the chart. So-
Correct, yes,
Right.
sir. That was stated all on the record in the specific
You guys don't have
amounts.
a copy of this?
Right.
And Mr.
No, that's
Acaparo,
okay.
what was your grand total? It was 100 and...
Grand total is $120,703.
Right.
I have a question about the bridge run. They asked for 75, they're getting 25,000. I was just curious as to what led to that. Is it the fact that there were two within a year?
So there are a couple of things that play into that. One is that the committee has their own guidelines that they operate under. Obviously, we're governed by state law, and then each advisory committee adopts their own kind of guidelines. One such guideline that the Mount Pleasant's Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee has adopted is a maximum funding recommendation of $25,000 per event. The idea behind that was twofold. One, if you were relying on the town for more than $25,000, you probably need to diversify your revenue stream a little bit. And the second was they wanted to be able to ensure that they could fund multiple different events and not pour all of the money that's available into one event, which for some of these events budgets is very doable. So that was the first thing. The second thing was, again, during the applicant presentations, they asked about the $75,000 request because that has not previously come before the board. They have always requested that $25,000 amount. And so the Cooper River Bridge one was, they did mention during their presentation, that was kind of to make up for the prior 2-year events. They had spent the money previously and then ended up not being able to hold their event. So it was a lost year for them. So they were attempting to make up revenue in that ask.
Do they get other money from us, like through the recreation department or anything like that?
No, sir.
So it's only this, only 18?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But I mean, they're not going to be upset with the town of Mount Pleasant on this. We have a good reason for it being $25,000.
Correct.
Yes, sir. And $25,000 has been awarded to the Cooper River Bridge Run for years from the
Okay,
town.
got it.
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I could just add, they get a lot of services from the town
Right.
for this event.
Yeah.
Probably
Right.
equal to the total amount they want. But
Right.
be that as it may, between the town, State Guard, City of Charleston and all, they get a lot of services from the local governments and obviously the state government. So I don't know that, I happen to have sat in on some of the discussions with them, and once Ms. Sims brought up a number of issues, I think they were comfortable with $25,000. One of the issues, and it may continue to be an issue in future years, is the timing of the event. The timing of the event is at a major visitation period for not only Mount Pleasant, but the whole metropolitan area. And, there are times when we could certainly use some more heads in beds, so to speak. So be that as it may, I think Mr. Accofano did a great job analyzing them. And I want to commend that committee. I was fortunate to sit on several of their meetings, and they really go into great detail with each one of the applicants and where they think they might be able to add some more. And it looks like with Mr. Accofano's help, they did on the Coffee House Variety Show. They did it where they thought they could maybe use it a little less, or as I mentioned to Mr. Accofano, the Halsey event is held right next door to the Francis Marion Hotel. How many heads and beds we get from that event is questionable, but they're gonna try to let us know this year after going through it. So, but I just want to commend that committee. They do a great job, and they spend a lot of time on our behalf, and it's time. If we hadn't put them on a committee, we'd have to do ourselves.
Great. Any other discussion? The motion is to approve. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. And again, thank you, Councilman. Great work.
Thank you.
Item B involves the Recreation Committee approval to proceed with developing a recreation referendum for November 2022. What the committee is asking, and I guess I'll turn it over to you, this is not approving a referendum. This is just a consensus that we will move forward with the concept. It has to go through the Recreation Committee or Health, Recreation, and Events if the vote is successful later.
Yeah.
And then it has to go through Police, Judicial, and Legal for the wording. That is not happening at this point. This is only the concept of one, and I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Hunt.
Well, we did discuss this at our last Recreation Committee meeting, and we were on board, I think, with starting this discussion. I think at some point we would like to have it come back to committee to decide what projects, sort of prioritize our projects. But I think from the committee, we believe that it's a good idea. We can let the public decide if this is what they want to
Right.
fund.
Both your committee and PJL had a preliminary scoping out of what a referendum would look like, what money would look like, those type things. And I believe what you told us was we would have to have first reading in June, second reading in July, and the wording of a referendum has to go to the Board of Elections in August. Is that, did I remember?
Yes, sir, there's both a 90 and 60-day lead-in time before the election, and the town's best interest would be served if final reading was in July or before.
Got it. Everybody clear on that? All right.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So if a member of council is not on either of those committees, how would we get a chance to?
Well, it has to come to full council, and we also, just our input
Okay.
to either one. And the bulk of this will be recreation.
Right.
Police, judicial, and legal is basically tasked with the wording to make sure that the wording passes legal muster.
Okay.
Very clear.
But most of the work will be done in recreation.
Recreation, right. All right. Yes, ma'am.
So I was the one who placed this on both of those agendas. Mount Pleasant is a world-class town, and we are deserving of world-class amenities, and we just don't have the budget to reach certain of these capital projects. And so I thought that giving the townspeople an opportunity to see specifically where their dollars are going and impose a sunsetting 10-year fee on themselves to achieve these things would be something that would be great for the town, could be great for our community, and so I am now no longer on the Recreation Committee, so I plan to be at public comment at every single meeting to speak to it. And I look forward to, as a member of the PJL Committee, seeing what the recommendations are from Recreation. I think we'll also go to the Finance Committee because, there's a range of the dollar amount of what it could be, and we want to think of what's reasonable, what would be likely to pass among the citizens, of how much of a yearly tax they would be willing to impose on themselves to achieve something like 10 miles of the Mount Pleasant Way, or, a community arts center, or Rifle Range Road Park. So I think those are all things that Recreation needs to discuss, Finance needs to discuss, PJL. So I'm hopeful that every member of council will have an opportunity to put their own stamp on this, and that we can create a referendum that truly meets the needs of the full range of Mount Pleasant. So, thank you.
We don't have a motion yet, so would you like to make that, Ms. Hyatt?
Okay, I'd like to move to proceed with developing a recreation referendum for November 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I think we've already had discussion. Yes, sir, Mr. Rambo.
Just to piggyback on Ms. Corley's comments, I do believe we have it on the agenda for our council retreat, or it will potentially be on the agenda for the council retreat, because I do agree that there's only 3 of us on the Recreation Committee who'll be doing the bulk of the work, but I think it really needs to be input from everyone, to make sure that we're getting, because there's a list of projects, and there's a range of what we could ask for. And so I think it really, hopefully we can just do a lot of discussion as a group at the council retreat.
And that doesn't have to be the last time. We can have special called meetings where
yeah.
everybody's there. Might be a real good way to proceed.
Yeah.
One more question. So this is my first time going through referendum, but how do we collect public input for something like this? It's just going to be huge, I think, and great for the town. And I think the 9 of us all have such things that, that we are passionate about. But is there a process for collecting information from the public when something like this
I'll ask
happens?
Mr. Demore.
Do a survey.
That's correct. There are several different ways. First of which is your own contact with your constituents to hear feedback. Second is a series of what we call charrettes, where you invite in members of the public in sort of a public meeting, public hearing type format to hear their opinions. Another way we've used in the past is a survey of recreation users in the town. And we've had great success with getting the College of Charleston's Riley Center to help us put together a survey and send it out. So all these items can be discussed. Maybe you do a combination of all 3 to get the feedback that you want.
Okay, thanks.
And if I could add, doesn't mean we can't, as a council, on our agenda, have a public hearing once we get the plan developed to invite people to come and talk about it. Because I think in order for this to succeed, we've got to convince our citizens why we're doing this and why it's needed. So I, for one, would certainly want to see a public hearing held, and maybe more than one, just to get more feedback from our citizens. We've got a pretty good idea ourselves, but, you know, we don't know everything. We need our citizens to help us get this through if it's going to pass. And I've been through 5 referendums in the area. I've been through 2 in Florida. 4 of the ones I was involved in passed. But the key thing is to get the information out and hear from our constituents. Because if we don't do that, it won't pass. It won't pass.
And one way or the other, we're going to hear from them when they vote, so might as well hear beforehand rather than
We need
after.
to hear before if we're going to get something done.
Right. Okay, so we have a motion to proceed. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we will proceed in that direction. Council, new business. First reading, an ordinance to amend Chapter 32 of the Mount Pleasant Code of Ordinances by amending Section 32.03, Committee on Recreation Services.
I'd like to move to approve items 1 and 2 under new business.
Second.
together.
Items 1 and 2. We have a motion, we have a second. Let me say that both of these passed unanimously at committee. And the first is just to reflect the new name of recreation. Correct me if I'm wrong?
That's correct, sir.
To health, recreation, and events to cover all of what it's really already doing. It has no effect on the department name or whatever the example we were given. We still have a transportation committee. We do not have a transportation department. And the other is that, as Councilman Rambo can attest, what we have always called the Water Supply Committee deals with more than the supply of water. It deals with everything that has to do with water as a resource, whether it's coming or going. The sticking point of that, as pointed out to us at commission, is that the state statute says that the chair of the Town of Mount Pleasant Water Supply Committee is an ex officio commissioner. So we need for it to say supply / resources. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr.
No, sir, that's
Paganini.
correct.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion to pass items 1 and item 2. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passes unanimously. Mr.
First readings of ordinance numbers 21077 and 21078.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd also like to make a motion that we approve items 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Second.
You beat it
Mr.
to it.
Iacofano could have
Second,
that.
third, and fourth.
For the adoption of resolutions for our law enforcement department.
We have a motion, we have a second. Just for clarity in the record, please tell us exactly what this is.
Sir, these are mutual aid agreements that have been presented to council by the police department. Chief Arnold is available for any questions as to specifics. But as you all know, our state code requires that council adopt the same by resolution for them to be effective, and that is why they're in front of you.
Mayor, who was the second on that?
Mr.
Rambo.
Iacofano.
No, Mr. Iacofano. Oh, he beat you to
I
it.
gave it
It's like
to
my
him.
first
Man.
second. Can I have it, please?
Yes, you can. And just to be clear,
Tis
that
the
is,
season.
that is items 10A2 through 9.
10A3 through 9, sir.
A3.
I do have one question for Chief Arnold. Is this is where we still call, right? Is this the software that automatically sends, or this is still the phone call part, right? Right. Right. Auto aid, right. This is still phone call. Case by case. Okay, right. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion to pass those items 3 through 9, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I guess you have to read them all.
I guess, yes, sir. Resolutions 21, 121, 21, 122, 21, 123, 21, 124, 21, 125, 21, 126, and 21, 127.
Thank you. Now we're to item B, old business, final reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 116 titled Special Events Permits of the Mount Pleasant Code of Ordinances related to minor impact special events permits.
Move for approval.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Mr. Pagliarini, if you'd just give us a brief synopsis of this.
Yes, sir, this is our section 116.03, and a sentence would be added to section B, restaurants and bars operating or allowing the operation of amplified music systems during the normal course of business is not considered a minor impact special event. Otherwise, they will be, all such businesses will still be required to follow our noise ordinances.
So in effect, they'd be governed by the noise ordinance, not a special events ordinance.
That's correct.
Is everybody clear on that? And this did pass police, judicial, and legal. Yes.
I do have one question on that, actually, because I know we were originally kind of examining them both at the same time. So passing this, saying that they don't need a special permit, but we haven't yet passed a new noise ordinance, where does that leave restaurants or bars at this moment? Can they have live music, or what is that, like?
Yes, sir. I mean, our existing, we have an existing noise ordinance, which is really based on a reasonable standard. And so that would be in effect up until council addresses a new ordinance.
It's a reasonable standard, it really just falls on the discretion of the responding officer, essentially.
So I'm not sure how the chief would word that, but there is discretion by the police department. Yes, sir.
So, once this is passed, I guess what I'm saying is, it's not prohibiting a bar from having live music.
Correct. Right.
It just has to be reasonable as judged by the responding officer. Okay, all right, just wanted to clarify that.
It's stating that they can have amplified music without having a special permit.
Correct, sir. Otherwise, special permits will be issued.
Right.
Which really carve out an exception to our noise ordinance, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
And so really it's just saying that they're subject to the existing and potential future noise ordinance.
Yes, sir.
So prior to us taking this action, bars actually can't have amplified music without a special permit, so they really were,
More restricted.
yeah, it's really more, okay, all right. I got my answer, thank you.
I lost track. We did have a motion.
Motion
Yes.
and a second.
Thank you. Motion and a second. To approve. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Demore,
Oh, yes,
the
sir.
number.
Yes, sir. You caught me. That's final reading, ordinance number 21076.
Thank you very much. Item number 11 is to adjourn. Is there any further business to come before this council? Anything we have failed to address? We might be setting a record tonight.
Just
Am I allowed to say
Christmas.
thank you to somebody? Can I say thank you to Christine and Christiane? They put the extra links to the commission and committee minutes instead of just the ordinance. I want to thank them for that. Am I allowed to do that? I just
Yes.
did. So thank you. Merry Christmas.
Just Merry Christmas.
Merry
to all
Christmas.
our council members, and Happy New Year.
Everybody be safe, and thank you to all of you who will be working over the holidays. We don't take that lightly, and we remember who you are. Thank you very much. Anything else? We stand adjourned.
Thank you.